terrifying, isn't it? I'm telling you, too. Like what?
Sure, Gary.
Whenever you're ready, man.
Use that excuse all the time, right?
Okay.
Well, but other than requesting not to be.
So there's not a lot that needs to happen, which is kind of nice. Me?
How are you?
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy spring. And Happy New Year, too, by the way. So I'd like to ask you that you please join me as we rise for a moment of silence, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could I have roll call, please?
Brad Hand.
Here.
Tom Eggers.
Here.
Pete Hamill.
Here.
Chantel Ostra.
Here.
Jeff Wagner.
Here. Item 2 is the approval of the agenda. I'll take a motion for that.
So moved.
Support. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hand.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Hamill.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
Wagner.
We now come into the public forum portion of our meeting. Is there anyone wishing to address the council here at this time? We will have a separate discussion on that later, so you may want to hold it for that. If it's something else, now would be your time. But parks, we'll save it for later. If that's all right. Any other? Okay, well, if you're pressed for time, I'll allow it, and you can make a quick. State your name. State your name.
I'm Mary Winchester, and I just have a couple of comments about what you're starting with our parks and the review of it. I want to thank our manager, Sam Koiker. He's been really great with responding with emails and stuff. Lovely, appreciate that. I appreciate what you're doing so far by taking a look at that, getting a master plan. I hope people in town are not going to get all worked up about anything. It's just the beginning. There's a long way to go. So nobody knows what's going to happen yet. It's just the time to look into it. I would just like to say, being on the committee so many years ago when we built Playground Paradise, it was such a community effort. It was lovely to see. We had all these subcommittees, and from the children that saved all their pennies and put them all on the community building floor to fill the floor, and those of you that weren't here, that time was the community got behind it. So I would encourage you to just look at different ways to do that again, to get more people on board with you. I read the article in the paper today, and Pete, I totally agree with you. Our current Playground Paradise is a extremely unusual structure, and we attract children from all over that come to play there. It is a place where they use their imagination. If you watch them, when my children were little, my grandchildren were little, they would play pirate, they would make up games and stuff. It's functional, like at our schools and that, to have those safe pieces of equipment that are the big red slide, the swings that are all just so, but there's not a lot of room for imagination for the kids stuff. So I really like, and I know I've listened to a lot of people in the community, and they really support keeping something in that familiar look again because of the uniqueness of it and the draw and that opportunity for their kids to be kids and do that. I also talk to a lot of people. I'm not just that grandma that brags about her grandkids. I listen to people in town, and we really spend time with positive people. And I got a lot of interesting ideas from people. And one thing, a small splash pad, because many people are very, very impressed with what's been on the east side of town, the swimming pool and all of that. But to have something at our city park that's centrally located and also that serves people that necessarily couldn't get out to the east side all the time, the kids on their bikes and stuff. So a small splash pad would be a nice addition and stuff. But I understand cost. I understand how the community will have many different strong opinions. So I just think it's nice to, strong opinions, stuff, to get as much feedback and involvement from the children to the parents to the grandparents to people that used to live here, stuff, and get people on board and help you out and not criticize you, but support this project.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Julie Jenkinson, and this is Declan Jenkinson, and we go to the park just about every single afternoon when it's nice. We've been there when it's been terrible cold too. We've been there before, and there were people from Rock Valley there, Cherokee, Hall. They were all there at the same time because they are just amazed that nobody has a wooden park anymore. And we call it the wooden park. I think it was built when my kids were babies, and I took them there all the time, and I know they used to maintain it with volunteers, and all those volunteers are gone, bless their hearts. They closed it down for 2 weeks every summer before school got out, and then they varnish it or do what they had to do to keep it maintained. And I realized that these people are gone now. Are gone now, and but we just think the wooden park. Nobody else has a wooden park, and I know it's deteriorating. People are writing graffiti on it. Maybe when something is done, maybe the camera should be put up so we can keep it nice. We don't want it to be like the pool that we had that nobody took care of it. I used to take my kids there to the pool every night. And there was times that we went there, there wasn't a bathroom that worked. It'd be that for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Nobody took care of it. So therefore, they had to tear it down. And we really enjoy the outdoor pool. We go there every day. Because I'm surprised there aren't more kids here. But it's always been known as a wooden park. If I see something that isn't right, I come up here and I complain. Don't I? So it's taken care of because, with all these people coming to town and coming to town because of our wooden park, they'll go to McDonald's or they'll go to Taco John's and they'll pick up lunch and they'll sit at the picnic tables and have their lunches or their suppers there, and their kids will play for hours. And it's just such a neat structure, and I know it has gone downhill, and I don't know the cost. I can't imagine, but I can imagine the cost to replace it. But it's such a neat place. You want to say anything about that? You want to say anything about the one part? Okay. I think that's it.
All right. Thank you, Julie.
He was going to talk. He told me he was.
Yeah. It's a little intimidating. All right. If there are any other comments other than the park, we'll defer those then to the that point in the meeting when we get there. Any other comments regarding something else? Seeing none. Okay. Then let's move on to the consent agenda. I'll take a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Hamel.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Hint.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Okay, let's move on then to new business. Item 6A is a public hearing on the budget amendment for fiscal year 2025-26. I'd like to open the public hearing for that. Anyone wishing to address the council regarding that budget? Written comments?
No.
Okay. Then I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
So,
Those can be support. Then we have a consideration of the amendment there. Oh, roll call please first, yeah.
Wagner.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Eggers.
aye.
Hint.
Aye.
Okay. Any comments you want to make regarding that, Sam, the consideration of the amendment? Okay. Any comments from the council at all? The amendment to the budget? Any comments you want to make, Dan?
Mostly it's just cleaning up leftover funds from projects that didn't get completed in the prior fiscal year that we're working on now or have been completed.
Okay.
We do this annually, don't we?
We do, usually a couple times. There'll probably be another one in the spring.
Any further questions? Otherwise, we'll take a motion to approve that amendment.
I guess I have a question. Do we have any anticipations of rolling any of these over again the next year, to the next year?
There are some projects that typically, because our construction season goes into 2 fiscal years, that we don't always get the project done in, say, our current fiscal year. But it's not that we're not expending the funds, so the funds are still there. We
I guess
just
my
need to
question was,
do it into the next
the
year.
stuff carrying over from 24, 25, is there any anticipation that that will carry over again to 26, 27?
Certainly hope not.
Okay.
That would be a pretty bad project. Well,
Might be a few funds there.
Okay. All right, ready to vote?
I don't have a
Ready to take an
motion.
amendment, or make a motion this first, yeah, we asked for that. Need a motion to approve this amendment before we can move on.
Move to approve the amendment?
Support.
Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Hint.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
All right, next item is the fire township agreements. I would guess you have comments on that.
Thank you, Mayor. So this has been a long-running effort with between Chief Hint and I and the fire department and Angie. So 6-7 years ago, I think one of the per section prices was for one of the townships was $150 a section and hadn't been adjusted in years. So this represents some significant improvement in fire funding over the last 6 or 7 years. So really what we're doing today is we're just asking you to authorize the termination letters that Chief Hint and I have signed. They would go out tomorrow, and that would be only for Carroll and Floyd in O'Brien County. The idea would be to have new agreements. Essentially, they've already been negotiated because Brad and I made it, it's been made clear as to what the new rate was going to be, that it's going to be the rate recommended by the State Fire Chiefs Association, which is .6075 for valuation. In your folders, I have a draft valuation. The calculations are in progress, and Brad and I need to review those, but that is the likely outcome. So I'll stand for questions. In the yellow folder, Noah folder.
So how long a turnaround does this usually take? Well, before, when we terminate and they sign a new agreement based upon new valuations, how long?
Yeah, I think several years ago it was all wrapped up by March.
Okay. So are we not servicing those townships during that time?
No, we'll continue, because the contract goes till July 1.
Yeah.
So
Oh, so we're not shortening the
No,
contract, we're just saying we're not going to renew it.
we're not going to renew,
Okay, very good. Thanks.
to renegotiate the rate. And we want to keep the rates. We had a couple townships that went on evaluations and other townships that went on a flat per section fee. We want to eliminate it and make everybody on the same playing field where it's
Evaluation.
evaluation based.
So you pre-negotiated this, so it's basically this just a technicality then that we're going through at this point?
it is. It could end up being more than a technicality if with new faces on the township boards, but Brad and I are hoping that it'll be just a technicality.
Yeah. Because we were very upfront when we negotiated this 3 years ago, that our goal was evaluation based fees.
So if you look at, if I might, if you look at section 7 of the grant agreement, that has the calculation laid out. So if you look on your iPads on section 7 of the grant agreement, the calculation's very straightforward, and we received the numbers from, in that case, Sioux County, and we can come up with the calculation. So. And we would put that same language in the Carroll and Floyd agreements. It's just that they have different section counts.
So as I look at this, there's the 27 post and pre, and there's a 79 and 121 numbers. Are those the expectation if you went to evaluation based on all of it?
Yeah, 79 is the number that Brad and I have discussed. That's the post rollback number, and that's the number that makes the most sense. So it's not technically, in our case, it's not technically a tax, it's a fee, but we're contracting with the township board, and for them it's a tax, so I think they're limited by the rollback factor. So that column there of the 79,820 combined for the 4 townships compared to 68,000 and change from the current year, that really represents the main increases there are due to valuation increase combined with the proposed formula for Carroll and Floyd, because then Carroll and Floyd would be going from per section to valuation based, just like Grant and Lynn and Sioux County.
So an 11,000 increase includes going to evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? My question would be, do we need a motion on these agreements now, or is this going to happen after negotiation?
Brad and I would like to have a motion to approve the termination letters, or the letters for Carroll and Floyd.
Okay.
And we will come back to you with the new agreements when they're ready.
Can we do that in one motion? Do we need?
Yes, you can.
Okay. If you follow that, we'd like to have a motion to recommend the termination and the new value-based agreement. And we can do that in one motion for both of those Carroll and Floyd townships.
So move.
Support.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Ostrom,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Hamel,
Aye.
Hint,
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
All right, item C on the agenda then is recycling discussion. Comments from you on that?
Yeah, there's a memo that a number of you have weighed in on, and I really appreciate that, under item 6C. So the top link there is the recycling summary. Don't know that I really need to read it. I'll just hit some of the high points. There's approximately 1,700 or approximately 1,797 or about 1,800 residential accounts. About 400 have the big cans, 500 recycle without the big cans, and the remaining approximately 900 do not recycle at all. So I guess to try to boil this whole paper down, the key point would be is, do you want to require cans for everybody or recycle cans for everybody, or do you want to require those who recycle to have a compliant can? That's, you have to almost start with that question and then move into the rest. So that's really an important policy decision for you to make. Would be subject to ordinance updates and a contract update, which can be opened up by mutual agreement. Also, one of you had asked me at the last meeting about what we have in place for littering and improper dumping, and it looks to me like ordinance amendment would be necessary, and there's a draft on the agenda which has not been reviewed by legal yet, but would be if we're on the same page. I have both the current illegal dumping ordinance and the new one that I wrote there.
Well, to me, it seems like the community keeps saying they're tired of stuff blowing around town. And they don't want to fight with everything that's blowing around. So the only way to stop it from blowing around is to say you can't put it out without a can with the lid on it. That's what they've asked for. How to execute that is the second part. Who's going to pay for it, et cetera. But I think for us to take some kind of action that says, hey, we're going to require some kind of recycling. Your recycling you put in a container. Mark has suggested if we went to a container requirement, you would empty the roll-off an additional time every week at no additional charge to the city. In fact, that would be helpful for those that don't have a recycling container. I've talked to some people in town who aren't interested in having a recycling container because at this point, they're taking their garbage in bags out to the garage and collecting it. And when it comes night to put the garbage out, they put the garbage in from the bags into the can and roll it out. When it's time to do the recycling, they take the empty can that they haven't put garbage in yet, put the recycling in there, take it out. So it wouldn't require us to make everybody buy a second can in order to comply with this law. They could, but they wouldn't have to. That being said, I think that we didn't get involved. I believe you didn't get involved in the purchase of garbage cans when that happened. And I think that us discussing how to fund the garbage can or recycling cans is just taking away our focus from what the real issue, and that is that people don't want their garbage or their recycling blowing around. The second part of that, which is important, is if people aren't recycling, they're going to put it in their garbage cans. So the passing of that rule that says, the new proposition that says that garbage can't be put into recycling or littering is important, so we don't have on the night that recycling is taking place, people putting out both their garbage and their recycling out into that can that's intended just for recycling, or people taking their garbage to the roll-off with their recycling and putting both in there, which will help us enforce the separation of those two pieces. But I think the first step is just to pass, it's got to be in a container. I think that's what people have asked for. That's just my thought.
So a question I think that would precede even your question is, are we going to mandate that every residence needs to recycle? Because if we don't mandate that every resident has to recycle, then as it stands right now, over 900 of them don't even participate in it. So so I think we have to figure out where we stand as a city on recycling. Is this something that we want and mandate to the residents, just like picking up garbage?
I think we're required to have recycling by the state for solid waste reduction. So I think that's already set by the state.
Then how can we bring along these extra 900 people or so that are not adhering to that?
I don't think there's an enforcement piece to it.
That's a good question. The problem is yeah, we can't be going through everybody's garbage to see if they have recycling in it. And if they only have the choice of putting it in the recycling can or taking it to the site out there, most likely they're going to pay more garbage fees because they're going to have more than one can of garbage, as long as we have something that forces them not being able to dump garbage someplace into recycling containers. So that's our first step. Our second step is if we can't get people to participate, we may have to come back and visit that again. But
Well, I think that we certainly ought to encourage it, and maybe there's some things we can do to incentivize that. But short of having a recycling inspector monitoring, and that's ludicrous, I don't know what you do about it other than incentivize people to participate and take part in it. And we've talked about that from time to time, and I think that's the direction we ought to go. I've come up a little short on requiring everybody to purchase a can, but maybe that's something we have to grapple with.
I agree with you.
I think we should require either to have a 35-gallon can, 65-gallon can, 95-gallon can with a lid on it for recycling, and that's it. Let Mark deal with selling the cans, buying the cans, enforcing the can part of it. We just require you got to have it in one of these size cans with a lid on it, period.
Because otherwise, how are we going to enforce whether they have a can or not anyway? That's why I think we just say you got to put in a can at the beginning.
And if it's going to benefit Mark's business by reduction in staff, then he's got to have some skin in the game.
There's been some talk about whether we could get a grant for it, but the next grant session is what, July?
July 2, yeah.
July 2, and I don't know that we want to delay telling the public what our intention is for another 6 months while because we can still go after the grant to fund additional containers.
What is the requirement currently for garbage contracts? Not recycling, but garbage. Does everyone have to have a garbage can to be picked up? Come to the mic, please.
Everybody's got to have a garbage can, but if they never put it out, then that's up to them. Is that what you're asking, or?
Yeah, I mean, does anybody that has water, sewer, and whatnot through the city, do they also have have to have a garbage contract?
Residential, yes.
Okay. So we do require it for garbage.
Yes.
And I think there's some people that if they have to buy a recycling can, I don't think they'll ever use it. Some people just are not going to recycle. I don't
Apparently 900 of them don't want to
Yeah,
recycle.
I know.
That's half of your customers that are not recycling, and I find that discouraging.
Well, remember, we've got 2 roll-offs a week we're filling up, so those could be some of those 900 people going there.
Correct.
And that's just a rough count. I mean, it could be more, it could be less. I mean, we just counted them as we were recycling, but.
And the other thing we talked about, Mark, was that if we just say you got to have a container, how do we deal with the 400 people that already bought a container that wouldn't have to buy another one? That's why I think just saying
I
we're
know
not
a
going
lot,
to deal with the container part of the business because
a lot of people ask me that too. Well, do I got to buy another container? No, if you have any can that'll be picked up with the hydraulic truck or the automatic truck, you can use that for recycling. So,
and you said we could have as much recycling as we wanted as long as it's in a container any given week.
Right. You can have 2 or 3 containers, but they got to be able to be picked up with the automated truck.
So Mark, is it cheaper to have recycling done on the roll-off and not do curbside? Or is it more efficient and less cost-effective to do it curbside?
The DNR, they require curbside, so there's we can't get away from that.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe Brad knows more about that. I don't know. Am I right or not, Brad?
That's correct.
Okay.
From what I've read, and I'm all just paging through the act.
Every town is required
Yeah,
to have the recycling available if they want
solid
to.
waste.
To have
reduction.
recycling available, but how?
Curbside.
Curbside.
Yeah.
then why aren't we supporting curbside? Because by having the roll-off, we're giving them an option away from curbside pickup.
I don't know. I guess.
Well, would our goal be to either eliminate or lessen the amount of times that the roll-off is being dumped? Then I feel like requiring cans would make the most sense to me. But
You know, you could get rid of the roll-off, but if somebody's got a appliance box or something they want to get rid of, and they curbside recycling, well, then they have a place to get rid of it too. So if you want to go away with the roll-off, that's up to you guys.
I'm just saying, I think they compete with each other, Mark. I think if I had to buy a can where I can take it to the roll-off, a good option would be to take it to the roll-off and not buy a can.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
So if we want more curbside, and if that's the direction that, is really according to law, then why aren't we mandating curbside? And to do that, you can incentivize it by helping them with cans, but you can also incentivize it by taking away a plan B so that they have to do it with curbside.
So
That's where I'm coming from.
that's something you guys would have to.
That's what we're here to talk about.
The problem is that once you fall behind, you can never catch up. So if I've got too much recycling from Christmas, I might be into March before I get all my recycling out unless I buy a second or third or fourth can for my peak times.
Yeah, so the last week, we had the last council meeting, that next Wednesday, it was extremely windy. I had my 95-gallon container. I had another 30-gallon container, plus I had a big box of recycling.
They blow over.
And I went to
The roll-off.
the roll-off. No, it did not, because it was not windy that day. Last week.
Tom, I follow what you're saying. Is the question instead, if we go to require containers, will Mark not charge the city for any roll-off fees in order to help us save?
I guess what I'm really trying to say here is, what do we want? And Mark is basically saying the same thing. He goes, I'll do whatever you tell me I got to do. So I think what we need to decide is what do we want to frame recycling? And then Mark has to decide what that's going to do. And then he's going to have to decide whether it reduces his cost or it increases his cost. And then we're going to have to deal with that. And he may come back and say, hey, the grant's not enough. And would the city be willing to kick in some money for incentivizing cans? But until we make that decision, then I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to put a bunch of Band-Aids all over everything and not really know what we're trying to get done. So.
Well, we know that citizens have asked us to keep it from blowing away, and we know that how many years you've been visiting this topic. I don't know how much more conversation we can have to move it forward. It's Mark's business to figure out how to deal with it once we say it can't be there. Right. And he can come back with the next step recommendations, or at contract renewal, we visit what that might look like for participation, or once he gets a grant back. Fair?
You're right, and that's why I think we have to, if we're going to get anywhere with this, I think we have to decide on what we're going to mandate. And once we do that, then the rest will play out. But until we do, and if we don't do that, then we're just going to be chasing tail all the time on this, just like we have been. So I would urge council, not at this meeting, but to give thought before the next meeting at least, on whether or not we want to mandate curbside recycling pickup, period. And if we do, then the rest will follow.
I don't think we have a choice. We have to do it.
Based on,
Waste Reduction Act.
yeah.
So I don't think we have a choice either to do it or not. We have to do it.
But I think, Tom, what you're asking is, are we going to continue the containers or not, or the roll-offs? Is that what you're saying?
I would like to know what the cost is going to be without the roll-off, just because it's going to force people to use curbside containers. That would be their only option.
Or the garbage.
or the garbage.
But if Mark were to come back and say, I'll cover 100% of the roll-off, would you be against continuing the roll-off? Then? Is
That
this
would
a
be
roll-off
fine.
price, or what is this?
That would be fine too, because either way, it's a cost. But right now, that's not the case. Case is we're subsidizing the roll-off.
So, Mark, it's about $6,000 a year for the roll-off. If we mandated it had to be in containers, would you save $6,000 a year in labor costs of being able to automate all your pickups, so you'd be willing to pick up all the roll-off costs? Does that solve the...
Because the more you can recycle, and Mark should benefit from this, because the more you get in recycling in his truck hauling to the landfill, the less, he doesn't have to pay to dump that at the landfill. So all his costs are in and picking it up. Where if you throw more and more into the garbage, his tonnage goes up for the garbage and he pays more tonnage at the landfill. So the more Mark can get the people to recycle, the cheaper his business gets, and it gets to be more profitable. So Mark's got to have skin in the game also.
I personally think we need to encourage, even maybe require recycling as much as possible. If that means subsidizing, we do that. It makes the roll-off available all the time. We're at peak times, the Christmas holidays, the cleanup week. It's a city-owned containers. Is that correct, Mark? So, we could put it in storage for those times when we don't want to make it convenient. But yet there are those times where the recycling bin, regardless of size, is overflowing, as Brad just alluded to. I think we need to push it as much as we possibly can. And there may be kickback. If they don't buy the container, it's going to go in the garbage can, and we can't do much to stop that.
Well, apparently it's happening for 900.
What's it? Yeah, I know.
Estimated 900 residencies so far. So, but I think to get our arms wrapped around this, I think we have to mandate that it needs to be curbside. I think we have to take away the roll-off as a plan B to incentivize the use of that, and then we can determine whether we need to incentivize cans or not. And but at least we're making a decision that if you're going to recycle, it's got to be curbside.
But Tom, I don't understand. Only if Mark's willing to cover the cost of the roll-off, what difference does it make to the city whether the roll-off continues or not?
Well, if it's being mandated to us as a city that curbside recycling is required, isn't that not a mandate for the city to adopt?
I guess the question is, does having the having the roll-off available discourage curbside? If in fact it does, then maybe we need to move away from that.
We're providing a service to our citizens of recycling and trying to make it as easy as possible for them. There's people, I understand what you're saying, but if our goal is to reduce it, we've got to give them every opportunity they have to get rid of that recycling. And if that's the roll-off or if it's a can, if that's goal number one is to reduce recycling and to reduce the complaint of people blowing around, those are our two solutions we have. We may come back 6 months from now and say, our next step is to get rid of the roll-off. But if we don't have any costs in it, we've already cut $6,000 off our budget. If Mark's willing to, which he said, to cover the roll-off cost.
But remember, he's willing to do that based upon the fact that people buy cans and start using them curbside.
No, he's willing to do it based upon the fact that he doesn't have to use manual labor to collect the recycling.
Right.
So their only choice is to put it in a can or in their garbage or in their in the roll-off.
Mm-hmm.
So then they would need a can.
Yes.
Right.
But we got 900 that aren't using it now anyway.
Right.
We're only talking about 400 people
But
originally.
So I think we're saying the same thing.
Right.
Like, I think we're all saying a can should be required.
I think we should just say a can, X amount of size with a lid is required for recycling, just like we did with garbage, and let Mark and the customers hash out how they want to buy the cans.
And then if Mark wants to continue with the roll-off at his own expense, then
Then that's up to him.
that's up to him.
So
Yep.
that's what I think we should handle it, is say they need to have X amount of cans with a lid on it, and that's it.
My problem with that is that we now have gone to a point where we've said, we've done what Mark wants, which is to require cans, and we've given him permission to get rid of the roll-off if he wants to. And we've given him, so he's got the win. I don't understand why we want to get rid of the roll-offs if we have no cost in it. I think that's a good requirement. The other thing is Mark's told us we've got people from the country coming in with the recycling. And the nice thing about that is any reason somebody wants to come to Sheldon, Iowa, and it doesn't cost us anything is part of.
Well, it does cost us,
Why?
because we pay to dump that recycle.
Well, not if Mark's willing to take that on as part of the requirement that.
Okay, well, I can't make that decision.
So maybe what we should do is boil it down to this, Jeff. Why don't we just say that basically what Brad already said, and that we will stop subsidizing the roll-off. Period. And let Mark take care of it any way he wants to.
Initially, you said we should think about this for 2 weeks, so is that
Well,
what you're saying?
but I think it's good discussion, so I think.
Yeah, but I mean, are you saying we make that as a motion now, or do you want to say, let's think along these lines for the next?
I would
2
be
weeks and see if that's
comfortable
gonna
with
work?
it, but I'm not sure everybody, how the rest of the council people are, so.
I'd be comfortable as long as we don't let Mark at least till the next contractor. I don't like the idea that he could just get rid of the roll-off at this point without some further discussion.
Well, not at this point. I think we need to taper it off myself.
So we can visit another 6 months or whatever.
Right.
Well, again, the roll-off is not Mark's roll-off, it's the city. So really, the city determines whether that goes away or not.
Well, but he's the one that's emptying it.
Correct.
Yes.
So if he's willing to empty that and not charge the city, is there a problem with that?
I would imagine there are some that will not buy cans, and to me, it's easier to put the can out than bring it to the roll-off, but I'm not everybody. Others may find it easier just to once a week or once a month, if they're a small household, bring it to the roll-off, and I don't have to pay for the can or the pickup of that. But I guess
I would suggest that we table this for the next meeting.
they can let it simmer, and we'll
Yep.
pick it up again in 2 weeks.
Good discussion, though.
Well, the other thing that I'd like to at least mention is that there is expense in dumping that, hauling it down there and dumping it. So there is expense and there's no income from it.
For Mark?
Right.
But he's got the labor savings of not having to pick
How?
up.
If we require the cans.
Yes.
Not stopping at
Then he
every house
wouldn't
and
have-
picking up the cans.
So remember, maybe you don't remember this in the last meeting, Mark said that right now he can't use his automated equipment because with the bags, in order to get the automated, if you put a bag out instead of the automated can, they would have to go and climb the side of the truck and throw the bag in there. So he's got 2 people that right now when he collects recyclables, that he has to put in the back of the manual truck, that he'd no longer have to have those 2 people on recycling day. That's where his savings.
If we require the automated
Correct.
cans.
Yes.
Has nothing to do with the roll-off.
It does and it doesn't. So
Yeah, it
we're
does
gonna
and it
table
doesn't
this.
because-
We're going to table this.
Okay, yeah,
And-
that's
and-
fine. I'm
and-
just saying that's
Yep,
another thing
yep,
to think
I
about.
understand, but we're kind of going in circles, so.
Yep.
Let's move on then to discussion on the city park plan. I would like to, is there anyone here wishing to address the council now? This is your public forum portion for addressing city park plan. Any comments from the gallery? Any written comments that you've taken?
No.
I had one from Gerald Van Meteren this afternoon. He had walked through the current park. He found one board that could be replaced, but he thought it all looked pretty sound. Could use a coat of sealer, but all in all, he thought it was in pretty good shape yet, and he would be in favor of keeping it, is the impression I got. We did discuss the wood chips, getting off of the wooden paths and into the wood chips. It's not handicapped accessible as a new replacement park would be. He hadn't given that thought, but those were his comments, so I'd like to enter those into the record. So if there are no more comments, then I take a motion to close the public hearing on that.
I'll make a motion to close the public comment.
Support for that?
Support.
Roll call, please.
Hamel,
Aye.
Eggers,
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Ostra,
Aye.
Hamel. I'm
Aye.
sorry,
Yeah,
Jen.
aye.
My bad.
I get to vote twice?
Sorry.
All right. You can have my vote.
Sorry.
All right,
And you're in double trouble.
That's only right.
moving on to council discussion and potential direction.
So I think we need to send this back to Park and Rec. And they have some more public input and come up with the top 10, the top 5, top 10 list of their priorities. Because right now, as a council member, I don't know what we're voting on, other than a big master plan of who knows how many millions of dollars. So that's my take on it. It's send it back to Park and Rec, let them have public input, and then they come back with us with recommendations of what their priorities are. Because I've heard a lot of people tell me they want the wooden playground to stay, and I'm in agreement. That's kind of a really cool thing we have. I think this plan told us about all the bad stuff we have. So I'm a little leery about that also, but I think it needs to go back to Park and Rec.
I would agree with those comments and add that Park and Rec then would also provide an estimated cost quote for each of the proposed adjustments.
There were some estimates in
Yeah, we
there.
have that,
Yeah.
based on what's presented there now.
The one missing thing, I think, was some kind of an estimate on what would it cost to update the wooden structure, the playground paradise structure, to a higher level of maintenance. We don't have any, but the other ones, there were numbers put on those. Whether they're right or not is another
It's
discussion.
the engineer's estimate.
Until you get
so yeah,
bids,
right.
you're not, but we do have some numbers.
But what's priority?
Yep.
What's
But
the
yes,
priority?
we need some priorities.
Yeah.
I agree.
Other than giving them a blank check? No, we need to have some priority of,
I have two questions. The wooden structure, we keep skirting that, but is the question that it's not all-inclusive? And so is that part of what we're indirectly hearing, that it may have to disappear because of it's not being all-inclusive to people with disabilities? I kind of, that's been skirted, number one. Number two, I would like them to come back with some kind of thing that says, most likely, we're not going to execute anything in the next 12 months in a budgeting process and the way the city moves. What kind of dollars do we need to spend that we're aware of now in order to maintain that facility till we come to a point of being able to execute a plan?
Mhm. And the other thing that I don't know the regulations on if everything in that park has to be accessible or not.
Yeah.
Because certainly parts of that thing are accessible. Is it all accessible? No, probably not. On the other hand, no matter what you do, there's going to be some things that one person can use and another person can't. And I don't know if that's verboten or not.
Right, but we've heard a lot of people say they want to keep the wooden structure, and I think they deserve an answer whether or not that's even a possibility as they're moving their plans forward.
I think you could keep that, and then there's plenty of room in that park if you wanted to add something that is more ADA compliant. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say negative things. They don't want the dog park in Central Park. I've heard that a lot. And I do agree with that.
So I like the idea of getting some input from Park and Rec, and if they want to do some discussions that are open to the public, that's up to them.
With public input also.
Right.
I think that's very important. Mary
Very-
alluded to that. I've
Very much
suggested that
so.
as well.
Right. I think the public also has to understand what what the cost is. When they're thinking about this, they need to know what the cost is. So they're making their decisions.
And that's what I wanted all along when we started this. Where's the public input?
Right.
That's what we need, is public input.
Yes.
This
And I-
isn't our park. It's the park for the kids that built the playground paradise. Those kids today, you know, for the future.
Is it appropriate to ask the park what their next steps are? Or we just say, come back with a plan, or I don't quite understand what we're sending back for them to do and whether or not we're going to like what they did. We get the feedback we want.
I think if we send it back to them, it's up to them how they reach out to the public.
I think, as Brad said at the onset, he would like to see a prioritized list and, you know, what do we bite off this year? And this may be a 10-year project potentially. And that's why it's broken up. It was broken up like it was. So we can go through, they can go through, the community can go through and say what's important to them. But I think that's the key. I don't think that they're throwing this out here as this is what we want, this is what we need to do. I think that this is a starting point. Where do we go from here? And I think, again, the community involvement, community input from the little kids, like we had at the meeting tonight, all the way to the, you know, the elderly, I think that's a key in getting this thing off the ground. And what is important, I think that gives everybody a better idea of what we're looking for in this community.
But I think it needs to be stated, the master plan is a very positive thing. We just don't want it to go off the rails because we're not managing it well. Now we're asking to go back, manage it. Let's get the input of the community. Let the community know what it's going to cost for, you know, for whatever their vote is for the priorities of what's being proposed. And then from there, we can manage it. And that's the best we can do. So.
I will say, if keeping the wooden park playground paradise intact is the goal, I do think that we need to look at ADA compliance because I do feel the majority of it is not in compliance. And so if we're trying to be all-inclusive, then we need to make sure that either we add on to it so that there is a portion of it that is, or whatever that looks like. But I do think we need to take a look at that as well.
Do we have enough to move forward?
No.
More. What are you looking for? What do we need yet?
Yeah, well, couple things to clarify. The Park and Rec Board did prioritize, they put their numbers to 1 and 2 priorities were the play area and the west side and those are the 2 projects that they did say they wanted. Yeah, the input is council. Now, what exactly was included in the play area was not decided. But they needed to know first off that moving forward with those 2 priorities. By moving forward, it's exactly what you guys are talking about. Okay, if we're going to do a play area, what does that play area look like? So I feel like just sending it back to them and saying, prioritize it, they've already done that.
I think we're adding to that. We're asking the Park and Rec Board to conduct open meetings with the community to get the input from them too.
I have no idea of that, but on what? On the master plan or on their top priorities?
At this point, all they've seen is the master plan. That's what's being discussed today in the community.
Todd, I think as a council liaison to that board, I think what we're asking is, okay, these are your 2 top priorities. if your two top priorities are the handicapped accessibility and the playground equipment, we would like some feedback from the city or the community on what that playground area would look like. And is that not what you're saying?
That's not what I've heard on the table, so I
Okay.
want to make sure.
Fair enough.
So I guess going back to Todd, where would I find those?
Yeah, so Brad, it's not in VEI document because they discussed that at the public meeting that was held in the other room. And I believe Mike Cedar made mention of that when he proposed it here, that those were the two things that the park board currently supported.
Okay,
But I don't think you're gonna find it in.
No, because that's what,
Yeah,
I
I know
don't-
you were unable to attend the.
and even in our council stuff, there's nothing that lists the priorities.
Okay. Well,
So-
those were the two that were voted on by the park board tonight. Several of you were there.
I know the playground was one. What did you say the second one was? I forgot.
So you get there.
The playground was one of those two items. What was the second one?
Yeah, and they thought if they were going to do the playground area, that they would address the west side, parking
Parking,
stalls,
that's what I thought.
ADA compliance with sidewalks, those kind of things. They would do that side of the park first, so that you have the entrance to the play structure. And play structure was not defined, whether or not it included a splash pad, how big it was. There was a very rough cost estimate, I think, of $600,000-$700,000 for a play structure, a couple $300,000 for a splash pad, and I don't remember, a couple $300,000 for parking stalls being wider and accessibility.
Wasn't the total parking on both sides about $1 million?
They were only looking at the west.
Right, so about $500,000 for parking probably then.
Potentially, yes.
You know, we can send it back to Park and Rec, and they can come with a recommendation. Are we going to take that then as that's the direction we're going, or are we going to pick it apart and send it back multiple times? And we could, I don't, just giving it to Park and Rec, I think it might be better that we have a joint discussion around the table with Park and Rec and the council. Not necessarily that we take any action on it, but that we just, they can ask questions, we can ask questions, and hopefully give them and us a better sense of where we want to go with this.
So how do we get the community feedback?
Well, that would be one of the questions that would be a part of that initial meeting with Park and Rec. Or we can delegate it to them, but if we're giving them that mandate and they come back with it, then I also think we have to honor that too, move forward with it. If that's what we're expecting of them, this is what we want to do, then we do it.
As long as we can fund it.
Correct.
Right. I think what we're missing here is the feedback of the community and how we're going to do it. So whether it's Park and Rec, whether it's a joint meeting, or whether it's the council, I don't know. But one way or another, we got to get the feedback recorded from the community on what they like and what they don't like, based upon what's been presented so far and some costs. Then we can start to manage it. But I don't want to start making decisions about where we're going to go and how we're going to go about it until we have the community get back to us and what they want, don't want. So
It kind of seems like the chicken and egg here, in that on one hand, the park commission is going to say, we want to know how much money we have to work with in order to get feedback from the community, and here's what we could do based upon that. And then we're saying we want feedback from them. We really, what you've all said basically is you want more feedback from the community before we progress any further, I think.
right. Based upon the master plan that's been presented and has been communicated to the community.
Just so long everybody understands that the master plan does not debate wood park versus new park structure. Master plan debates a new structure.
Right.
Replacing the new one, right? So, and it's not gonna get more than that unless we're gonna go further. So if you want us to hold 3 more public meetings or whatever the case may be on the master plan to get more input, so be it, we'll host 3 more meetings. But we need to know if that's gonna be good enough then, because I am fearful that we'll host 3 more meetings and we'll get 8 to 12 people to show up per meeting, and some of them will show up at every meeting, and we'll get back here, and you're still gonna say to us, I haven't heard enough. That is a concern. A real concern. Don't force us to hold meetings just to hold meetings. They already held one, right, and maybe more is needed. Then where do you draw the line? That can't just be up to the park.
Right.
You have to be satisfied with whatever we bring back.
Fair comment, but since that meeting that was held, that probably wasn't as well attended as we had all liked to have had it attended, how many comments have we all taken personally, and how many people have showed up here during a council meeting to share their opinion who wasn't at that meeting?
So how many more meetings do you want? That's what I need to know. If you want us to move forward with the park board, then I think we need to understand what the expectations are.
I guess I would like to ask, is it fair for us to say, okay, your 2 priorities that you listed aren't specific enough? What does a play area compromise? What are your desires for that? And then we can put some numbers on it, and yes, if we can, we'll probably proceed with that. But somehow we have to get some more detail.
I don't think you need the detail yet, Pete. What you need now is, do you support the master plan and do you support the priorities of the park? If the answer is yes, then they need to go get you the information about what the play area might look like.
If you're asking the question, the answer I'll give you is no. I don't support the master plan. Because you're asking me to give an overall approval of all the details in there, and I don't know enough about the details or the cost to say, yeah, I support the master plan, and let's put a skateboard park in there, and let's put an amphitheater in there.
Park and Rec is not asking you to go to skate park right now.
No,
Well, but you're asking us to approve the master plan, which has that in it, doesn't it?
I think their top priorities is what they're asking, or their top 2 priorities are what they're asking us to approve right now, which does not include the wooden park. So my fear is if we hold these public hearings, are we going to have 50 people that say we want to have the wooden park and 50 that don't? And then where do we leave the
So-
Parks and Recs board?
So in this master, under item D, master park plan, nothing lists priorities of Park and Rec. So to me, I'm in the park with Jeff, we're voting on the whole master plan.
So can we do this? Can we table this for
Yeah,
now?
'cause
And, yep, just a second. Can we table this for now? Ask,
It's in meeting minutes already.
Yeah.
Right? I apologize, it's not in the document in front of you, right?
I understand, but
It should be, the Park and Rec board voted at a meeting, these are our 2 top priorities. That happened.
okay,
So they are telling you, those, if you didn't know,
yep.
those are the 2 things.
Would you restate those for me, please?
The play area and the west side ADA and parking.
So basically, they're concentrating on the west side there. And
to start.
Those are the 2 projects out of the entire master plan that they're suggesting we look at.
And that would also include the field for soccer too, right?
No,
That's on the west side.
no, that's separate.
That's
Just-
not, that's a
Nope.
separate listed project they didn't think was a priority right now.
It would just be playground and parking,
It's broken out in that.
which the parking is expanding the parking spaces because they're too shallow. And then,
Yeah, and it's going to like 8 or 10-foot sidewalks because you're
Right.
allowing personal overhang of the vehicles to still have. It's putting appropriate handicap ramps.
Right.
in. It's improving the access to the play. in one direction.
Let me ask you this. If we're looking at spending $4 to $6 million on the park, and we're saying, let's not have any more hearings or input from the community because they're not going to give us any more, do they really care that we spend $4 to $6 million on it if they don't even want to show up? Are we doing something that's not of interest to them?
To be clear, Jeff, I didn't say we should have any more meetings. We need to have meetings, in my opinion, on the project.
Oh, and I think we're agreeing with you on that.
Yes, I would agree with that also. I mean, the master plan is there. It's a start. Those are ideas. They're certainly subject to modification if we find out there's a better direction or a more publicly desirable direction to go. But they did give us at least a start. Now I think if we can refine that a little bit, were they looking at, when they talk about a play area, were they looking at that area where the Playground Paradise is currently?
Yes.
Okay, and was there discussion about, can that be saved? Or was the discussion was tear it down and put something else there?
Yes.
We're
Okay,
saying we like the idea. Tell us more. We're not against it at this point. This is an encouraging statement to say, hey, hold some more hearings, bring us some more information. It's not a shutdown. And I kind of feel like if we don't, if we don't vote for move ahead, we're against it. But I don't think that's what we're saying.
Because I've heard a lot of people say they want to keep the wooden structure, or I think keep something similar to it.
See, and I get both sides. I have people saying it's in bad condition and we need to do something.
well, no, oh
different,
no,
but
I think we all agree it's in bad condition.
Yeah,
Can we repair it and bring it up to a usable state?
Or can we rebuild it?
Or is
Or
it,
build a new one like it?
well, then what's feasible, yeah.
The problem is if once we start this project, it'd be hard to stop. It'd be hard to say, okay, we did the west side parking, now we're good. We're not going to do the east side parking. So we do have some precedent setting here that
and I think that would be the goal. I mean, with all
the
parks.
public cares. Because we represent the public and we keep saying they don't care. They don't want to give any input to it.
We've had a fair amount of input. I mean, there was half a dozen, 4, 5, 6 letters at the last meeting that were entered. We've had I've had comments from people. We had public comments here today. Now granted, I mean, you're probably talking 20. I'm talking, if I added them up, it'd be less than 20. But it's still more comments than we get on a lot of things. And it's near and dear to the hearts of the community. When we had the discussion some time ago about having the fire department there was a room full of people here that said no, absolutely not. And I mean, so there is interest, there is a passion for the park for many people. Not so much that maybe they wouldn't go to it, they want to have attended a meeting so far or written a letter or talked to a council member, but I think that is, as this gets more traction, there will be more comments along the way as well. Sam wanted to say something a little bit ago.
Yeah, if I might. So thank you, Mayor. So being someone that remembers, I myself remember the original domed swimming pool, and I also remember Pucci's Pizza, the former bank, and you know, knowing what can happen down the road if something is torn down, and all it takes is a few people to say, well, it could have been saved. You know, if we look at the master plan, there's some of it sprinkled throughout and explains the accessibility issues, but I don't think it hurts to ask us and Beck to put together a simple 1 or 2 pager that explains if a rehab is possible on the original park, on the playground, and bring it back to you, and then it's in the record. And I think that would be time and a little bit of money well spent so that you can put that issue to rest. Because I've heard it too, the desire for a rehab. But I also know that there's accessibility issues, and I think last year we had a child get their arm stuck in through a slat, right? So we just need to, I think that might be worth it. So.
that is worth it as long as we have direction on what you mean by back to its existing 1993 status or something that is acceptable in 2026 standards.
It has to be acceptable in 2026 standards, is what I would say, but I'm not the policymaker, but I think that has to be 2026 standards.
I don't think it's a policy thing. I think it's a legal thing.
Well, it was built post 1990, but then there was a set of ADA in 2008 and 2010, so I don't think it's compliant.
I think the census is the people like the wood structure. If we could build something similar to meet all the standards, I think maybe that would be ideal for the people. Because they like the wood thing, because it's creative. It's something that not every town has. You know, and the park draws a lot of people from town to go play there.
Every town, not every town, but Orange City has one, Hull has one,
A wood one like that?
same
Okay.
Leathers Playground, yeah.
It's also something that requires an enormous amount of upkeep, so that's something to be considered as well.
So,
I guess I would like to find some input of possibilities for a play area. Okay, splash pad's been mentioned. We have nothing other than the idea that we tear down the wooden thing and put something else there. Well, I'd like to know what.
I'm fine with that, Pete. If the council authorizes Park and Rec Board to further explore possibilities of the play area, and leave it that broad, right? Could be rehabilitating what we have, along with adding on to, could be all new, whatever. That's fine. But are those the things that you want the Park and Rec Board working on out of the master plan?
So at this point, we need to make a motion to allow the park board to explore options with the playground area and the cost for parking, because those are their top two that they have brought to us.
If the council agrees, that would give them direction of something.
Right.
And I would be
But that's
willing,
gonna cost
I would be willing to make that motion.
I would suggest that we make a motion asking them to pursue this
Mhm.
with the ideas that we want something that encourages creativity and uniqueness to the city of Sheldon.
Yep.
How about this? Because this is gonna cost some money. So how about we bring you back a proposal to work through that? Because whether we use BEI or somebody else, nobody's doing that for free. And I don't believe that it's fair to ask the park board to do that on their own.
No, we need to step up.
So we would bring you back a proposal to consider that includes things that I just heard.
The playground and the west side parking.
and where are we at then in the terms of community input? That comes after the fact or before?
Yeah, I was just thinking that too. And I think
Because
it
we
makes
said we
sense.
want community input. Granted, there hasn't been as much as we hoped for, but yet we need, I don't think we've done our due diligence in getting that input at this point.
But I don't think that anybody has disagreed with looking into options for the playground.
Right.
And I don't think that anyone would disagree with the parking. And so I feel like we can give that back to the Park and Rec Board and say, here, we want you to explore options for the playground, and then we will give those options to the public for input
Okay.
on options A through D.
So we're
As
saying,
long as we have that understanding that there is going to be opportunity for down the road.
we're
community
interested and we want to know more. We're not in a position to say yay or nay on any of this at this point, but tell us
But we're
more.
giving them the go-ahead to explore the options for
And
the
the-
playground.
And the public
we're
would
okay with
benefit
parking.
from having the extra detail.
Right.
I agree with that.
So do we have a motion then?
So it's the options on the playground and the parking,
Just the west side parking.
west side parking and the playground area.
Mhm. They're in there.
What's that?
Those are in there.
Yeah, they're in here. But I did not know that that was Park and Rec's top priority.
No, now we do.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it wasn't on the agenda at first.
It is, it's linked. It is linked. The minutes are, the minutes for the
I
entire
didn't
Park
see
and
the
Rec
minutes.
agenda are, they're linked.
Regardless,
The agendas.
regardless, it's, we have, that is their top priority, so that's the direction we're gonna push them. That's the two things they've selected off the buffet.
So if that's Pete's motion, I will second that motion.
You have a motion?
I do.
Okay.
So Pete's motion was to direct the Parks and Rec Board to explore options on the playground and the West Park.
See the minutes?
Well, in the west parking, I think is pretty well defined, but that's, they can decide.
But at least they can come back to us with
Yep.
cost estimate and that's
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? We have a motion, we have support. Are there any other questions? Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Oh, just hold on a minute. Todd, you were taking a breath. Okay.
No, I was just thinking to myself, to be clear, we'll bring you back a proposal. We're not gonna move, we'll bring back a proposal for the council
Yes.
to consider. So there will be another opportunity.
Okay.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Eggers,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Ostra,
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye. All right. Moving on to the reports portion, strategic planning review. Anything?
Just very briefly, I have 3 attachments linked to item 7A. One is the corridor, the strategic planning outcomes from the November 19 discussion that involved a little subgroup involving Chantel and I and Todd, and so that is linked. Then we have the overall strategic planning outcomes from December of 2024, and then SCDC has provided us which has been presented before within SCDC, but they've also provided their strategic planning and visioning, so that I could link that. There's a great deal of overlap, so that's good to include. So thought I would have this before we got into Part B. We don't need to drill into too much of it now, depending on what you'd like to do, but I wanted to put this in front of you.
Any comments or questions?
Sam, do we have an idea of what the potential dollars we would lose in TIF if what's being proposed at the state level goes through? Is that 800,000?
At least. Do we want to move on to B now? I could get into that. I'm prepared for that.
Well, you mentioned B, so I thought you grabbed it.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah, I'm ready.
so
Well, before,
Anything else on
is there,
strategic plan?
yes, item A, is there anything else there? Hearing none, okay, then let's move into, then you can go ahead with that question, answer that question.
So the legislation that's pending that has passed the state Senate and is pending in the House, there's 2 main impacts. And of course, it could be amended many times before it's law, but as it stands now, here's how it's looking, is it would remove the school foundation levy, the basic school levy from the TIF calculation. So based on roughly $4.2 million of annual TIF increment that's available to the city of Sheldon, the rough calculation that Scott Stevenson and I have done is that we would lose, we would no longer have access to at least $800,000 of that. Okay. Then the next step phase of 652, which in the long run is even more impactful, of retiring our old urban renewal areas. And the map, you can find the list of the urban renewal areas on our website under the documents link down at the bottom. There's a nice map there. Most of our urban renewal areas are 20 years old or older. 2006 to 1989 is the majority of the lion's share of our urban renewal areas. The rough The rough calculation is if retirement was forced on all those older renewal areas and that increment was forced to be released, is we would go from roughly $4.2 million to just over $1 million. So we would have just enough for some rebates and funding at CDC, and we'd be bonding for just about everything else. Now, we are not the only community in this boat, and there's communities all over the state that are very, very concerned about this, and the legislators do appear to be listening to the concerns. So, you know, one of my last conversations with the folks at the League of Cities is it appears that the tide is turning. But I think it's important for us and all developers and all engineers and the other people that benefit from TIF to explain to their legislators what this means. And I think, so yeah, the impact of the legislation is potentially devastating. Now, I've been hearing this for years, every year, but this time it's a live round because it's passed one house.
Right, so both of these provisions are, all it requires is the House to approve it.
The governor
And
to
the
sign,
governor
and the
to
governor
sign.
to sign, yes.
And there's there's motivation from the governor's office to cut costs for tax relief.
Right.
So this would be tied to that. This would be an opportunity for the governor's office to use this as a tool. So since it's as far down the road as it is right now, and the potential seems to be there beyond what we've had to deal with in the past, do we need to look at our budget in the next coming up session as far as what we would do without that income? How it would impact us as a city?
Yeah.
Not only on projects or new projects, but services across the board, so that we have an idea on how what we're going to do and how we need to go about it when and if this happens.
Is it fair to ask,
So-
if this were to pass, the budget we're going to work on at the end of this month would be the last budget that would have those TIF monies in it?
I think it would be phased. It would be phased out like the backfill, you know, the commercial and industrial backfill, which was a 12-year phase, you know, but it could be just much faster. You do have some legislators that would prefer a cold turkey phase out. So, you know, I think one way to help answer this question is to explain what our general strategy has been, because I think that will be helpful. So we've really had a we've really had a six-fold strategy. One is using TIF bonds and TIF bonds and notes for larger public works projects and other, quote, essential corporate purpose items that don't require a separate standalone public vote. They require a series of public hearings and then you can move forward. This frees up annual TIF capacity, cash, for other projects, including general corporate purpose items. So general corporate purpose items are items like city halls and fire stations and ambulance garages and pavilions, and certain aspects of a city park improvement, like the city park improvement to do ADA fixes. I believe that would probably be essential corporate purpose. To build the outdoor amphitheater, that would probably be considered general corporate purpose. It would just have to be worked through. Anyway, without going too far down that rabbit trail, I'll get into number two, is we have used TIF to pay down or to fees higher interest debt using incoming TIF cash allocation. We did that with the pavilion as an example, and we may have an opportunity to do that with some wastewater treatment plant TIF debt soon. Number three, we have incurred occasional non-TIF debt, such as for the fire truck and 2 police cars in 2019 through Iowa State Bank, and in 2017 incurred the wastewater revenue debt. And because we've been using so much TIF to fund other projects with cash, we haven't had to do general obligation bonding for street projects, and we haven't done curb and gutter assessments either. Number four is releasing TIF. This is important because at one point we were close to highest in the state. We have not released as much TIF in the last few years due to the ratcheting down of the levies and uncertainty with pending legislation, but we have. And just in the last year, we released the entire Quick Star area, but it's, that's kind of a complicated issue, but more release is necessary. Number 5 is we should avoid the rollover of significant amounts of TIF cash. Significant, that word has not been defined. We just need to try to avoid it. Okay? And last is, the last really doesn't apply.
So tell me the 6 that are 5 that you mentioned, how's that apply to budgeting?
Well, it applies.
For Jeff's question.
It applies because if it's great, because it applies because if we lose all of that ability to do all these public works projects, particularly the public works projects, and we're forced to do general obligation bonding for essential corporate purpose streets, we'll have to increase direct property tax burden to do streets, and we'll be doing assessments of curb and gutter.
Right.
Those are the 2 main impacts that we will have. Plus, we'll have other things that will probably fall off, like the funding to rides and the funding to Children's World and the funding. SCDC will be impacted in a major way, and there'll be a struggle to do rebates. We do economic development for the state and not the other way around. We need their partnership. We need their support. We work well with IEDA, but we do the economic development at the local level. That's where it's done. And so that's the message that cities and counties are taking to the state now.
And I think we all agree with that. But since the legislation is sitting where it's sitting, wouldn't it be responsible for us to look at the downside of that this next budget cycle to determine what the exact impact's going to be and what is the priority and how we're going to, if it goes through, how we're going to implement it? Because I think that's what we're going to need to know. And why wait until it's on our doorstep if we can do some pre-planning and communication about it?
I think and that's partly what we're doing with this, is taking at least $800,000 and setting it aside, and waiting to do the budgeting until after May.
So is it fair to say that if TIF disappears, we can only do a bond election, every 2 years? Special election? So
I believe we could do one in a November election.
Every year?
Yes.
Okay. So, but government's made to move slow, but we move even slower because we'd have to, every time we wanted to make a move, we'll have to do a bond on it, right?
Well,
where right now, TIF money we have, a lot of the projects we're doing, we're not using borrowed money for.
Right.
Where bonds, we'd have to be paying finance charges because we have to bond it and then do the projects. Well, the interest on that. And then secondly, I think there's a misnomer in some of the people's minds that they're just going to pay less taxes. We're going to still have to collect the taxes one way or another. Ultimately, no matter what fund it's coming from the taxpayer's pocket. And I think that sometimes people forget about the fact that it is still got to come from somewhere if you want to have a fire department, if you want to have these different things. But in response to what you said, I think it really makes it critical as we look at our budgeting process to say, maybe we need to rejuggle some of these priorities. So if it does disappear, we don't have a piece of pay plan that we bought that we have no monies to develop because we spent it on multiple different things at the same time. And so we may need to be more hyper focused on those things we need to get completed before those impacts start taking place. Is that a fair?
I mean, that would be addressing. That's my point, is we need to address it from a budgeting perspective. Doesn't mean that's our only budget. It's our plan B. Plan A is that it lives another year untouched, just like it has for the past 6 years. But I think it'd behoove us to have a plan B where we haven't had a plan B to date. Because it has gone as far as it has gone. And there is synergy, especially from the governor's office, to cut expense. And this is one of the things that they're looking at. So I'm just saying to my fellow councilman here, I think it'd behoove us to build a plan B on this based upon.
Yeah. Do we have enough information based on what's gotten through the House? Do we know relatively well how it's going to shake out and impact us at this point? I mean, you talked about phasing it in, phasing it out, whatever. Is that information already been decided, or we're just kind of shooting in the dark here?
I think what will happen, and this is a big I think, because there's a lot of conversations taking place. I think it's highly likely that we will lose the school foundation levy, so which is $800,000, and then if it goes up from 4.2 to 5.1 million, because there's been a nice valuation increase here, that's roughly the equivalent of 975,000. So this is why I did the tier 1, tier 2. And then the third part is identified as important but need your help with prioritization. This is my first crack at bringing to the policymakers, hey, here's what we're potentially facing, and here's what you're going to need to prioritize if this happens. Either way, there's going to have to be prioritization because you have $8 million worth of projects vying for $4 to $5 million in funds. But I would take this home with you, put it on the next agenda. We discuss it some more, but ultimately the policymakers will need to provide some direction as to what is to be funded. But I did attempt to tier it.
Just to be clear, when you say policymakers, you're referring to the council.
Yes, you and the council.
What do you project, because there's also been talk about trying to move down the general, the 8.1, right?
Oh, the 810 levy?
810 levy.
Yeah.
So when would you think that, because I think you said 832 now, and if they took that down to 810, would we have an impact from that in year 1 or year 2?
Well, I believe, Ange, we go to 810 in 2029 automatically, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Yes, I just looked at that today.
That's done, but that's hopefully coming back because there's concerns over the library levy and the ambulance levy, and there's cities asking for the ability to do both, subject to a public vote. We voted on ours in 2005, and then the state took it. So.
I see it rather interesting. The state requires us to have our budget done, is it like by April 1 or April 15th? But then they can enact laws after that fact, which is totally oxymoron.
Yep.
So how are you supposed to budget?
Plan B.
They don't care.
They don't
Figure it
care.
out.
So that's why
Assuming that we know enough because of the legislation. As far as
So have you had your question answered? Are you feel comfortable with where this is going?
I don't know if I had a question as much as I wanted to make a statement, so.
So are you comfortable with the direction this is going then?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
further discussion will
This,
happen.
to me, answers that somewhat. This gives
Yeah,
us
I
something to
have
talk about.
feel a little more deciphering going on and all that, but anyway. I think we'll be dealing with it during the budget cycle. I'm just saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
So here's one more thing to keep in mind. So, and Scott Stevenson assisted me with this today. So for a $1 million loan amortized over 10 years at a fixed 4% rate, the annual debt service would be $123,000 approximately, or $20.56 per $100,000 in residential valuation. So that gives you the idea of the power of what we're dealing with here. With the TIF that we have, if we have access to $4 to $5 million in TIF, if we were to keep up with what we've been doing and bond it all and do bonding against everybody's homes, it'd be $100 per 100,000 in valuation. So if you have a $300,000 house, it's $300 annually, right? So that gives you the idea of the impact of what we have been using TIF for. That makes sense? And Scott Stevenson will be here in 2 weeks to explain the new debt capacity thresholds as well. So.
Sam, would you say to the council that it's safe to assume that if we want to do a fair amount of things, we are going to keep the issues together?
Yes, and I would recommend that we issue debt for the North Fifth lift station and some of the public works projects and pay for other things in cash, yes.
Okay. Let's move on. Item C, update on the 421 3rd Avenue project, arch plan. Briefly, who's speaking to that?
Do you want to take that one?
Sure. So I had asked Sam to put this on the agenda just to open it up for discussion again. We have students who are, or Sydney Pruitt has students who are available to start working on this project beginning January 20 at the beginning of the new semester. So she's looking for some feedback from us on whether or not we should have those students start working on this project. If we're tabling this for now, she needs to know, like, for planning purposes, if we're going to move forward with this project or not. My understanding is we would have about $40,000, correct, Ann, available in this fiscal year.
I honestly forgot what number
Okay.
we talked about. Sam, do you remember?
40,000.
So I know that we've talked a lot about fundraising and grants and that sort of thing. The thing is grants are really hard to apply for until we say what we're going to put in. Because on almost every one of the grants, the question is, how much has like the city put into the project? And so, given our previous discussion, I kind of have a feeling I know where you're going to go with this, but I just wanted to open it up for discussion. I think the kids have done a really good job. We've had 3 different groups of kids, I think, work on this project so far. This would be the 4th group that would start working on it. It would be really cool to see the project happen and be completed, but it's not just my decision to make. So we've talked to, one of our strategic plans is improving our corridor. I think this would help with that, and we'd be a good example, setting a good example for the whole community to follow if we had a project in the works on our corridor.
I'll speak first because I want to apologize. First of all, I've not been in any council meetings, so I'm talking more because I'm trying to catch up with some of your conversations and thought process. I think as we're asking the park to come up with their plan, initial pieces, and the question whether or not this should be part of our park plan, I guess I would ask that. But there's 1,800 water meters in Sheldon, Iowa. We're basically asking everybody to contribute $90,000 a piece, or $90 a piece to fund that park, is what the expenditure really is if you look at it. For $145,000 at 18 water meters is $90 a person, every water meter to pay for this park. It's got 2 benches in it, I think, and it doesn't have a lot of parking available. I think what they've done is great. I don't know that I'm confident enough in the location to continue a project that doesn't. I don't know that that's the best way to spend $145,000 or 90. We could take that $90 a water meter and buy recycling cans for everybody.
I like the project. But the more I think about it, it needs to be a block to the east at the park. Again, you go up to that corner and there is no parking. Unless you park in the old Godfathers, and if that would get sold and somebody would develop that, there's no parking close by. Just move it a block east, put it in the park.
So if we
It would look
moved
good.
it a block east, would you support the project?
Yes, I said I support the project.
I mean, would you
don't support the location.
would you be willing to release those funds to move forward on the project?
Again, you probably have to have the park's permission to do something at the park. I support the project, I just don't support the location.
So the question is can you proceed with the project without, and look at getting grant money without having a location identified?
Probably not, because we need to know where it's going to go, when it's going to start,
Okay,
when it's going to be completed, all of that, so.
okay. And we wouldn't want any more student involvement until we have something.
I don't think that there would be a purpose in having student involvement until we,
Until we have a location, then.
correct, until they have a project to work on.
Right.
So,
Okay. Okay.
Any other comments? We need to have an answer for Chantel to pass along.
this is just something that we keep talking about, and it just kind of keeps getting pushed off, and so I just would like, yeah. I would love to see this project happen. I think the kids have done a phenomenal job with the project, so it would just be cool to see it
I don't
come to
think,
completion.
from my experience and conversations, there's anyone against the project. It's everything, where it's located, what other amenities need to be along with it to maximize the project, that type of thing. So I would say that as far as Cindy's group, we probably won't need them this semester. And if we can't figure out a location, I guess that would be our next step, is to see if we can settle on a location. And then we could look at going for grant money at that point. So does that put into context everyone's input?
It says 40,000 should be available in the current fiscal year. My concern, based on the previous discussion we were having in the last item, is what happens after that.
Okay.
And so I'm a little shell-shocked and want to crawl back in my hole here and reassess, is this a high priority now as it was 2 months ago, in light of everything else going on? If we could say $40,000 was our maximum commitment and the rest was going to be done through fundraising, that'd be a different story. But if we're on the hook for another 106,000 after the 40,000, I have to think twice now. And as much as I love the project and the input and the work they've done on it too, the project is a good project. The funding is the challenge, and we're coming into budget session, and I'm just getting a knot in my stomach for those 2 sessions trying to make it all work again. And that's not the first time that's happened. I go into those sessions before, and we get out of them, it's like, we got it done. I don't know how, but we got it done. I could better answer this question after budget planning maybe than now.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
So,
Then I just know
I mean, we're 2
what
weeks
to
away from
communicate
that now,
the CAPS program.
whatever, 3 weeks.
So a question could be asked tonight on whether or not we could ask Park and Rec to take a look at a location for this project within the major plan for a city park. Todd, is that something that would,
If the council's in agreement, they don't want the project to necessarily die, or that they want it honestly, 40,000, I don't know if that in the agreement that we'll bring forward is going to cost, but that would open up some funds to start working on the planning on the west side, play area, and potentially include this structure as part of the west side improvements in that northwest corner.
And it could tie in with the other signage that they're talking about on all four corners.
Correct, it could be one of the four signs. So if you didn't want to kill it today, so to speak, that would be a way to keep it moving. Obviously, the Park and Rec Board would have to agree to include it, but I can't imagine it would not, especially if that comes as a recommendation from this body.
I should do, or we should do a resolution for advancement of cost, which is easy.
Yeah, and we
So
have
that's
to gather
just to
the
paper
full
it up.
data anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a Park and Rec Board meeting next week, Tuesday. So we can ask them if it would fall into place.
I think we all feel terrible that it's gotten this far with the CAP students and they're not able to finish it. And, you know, but I don't know that for the taxpayer standpoint and the budgets we're facing that we can wisely say that it may ever move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to recognize these students for all their efforts they've done. I wish we could name one day CAPS Day in Sheldon or something like that just because of the efforts they put in. But I think reality is reality on this.
Sometimes that's what happens when you start planning, things change.
question would be, is that do we take the, give it another opportunity at a new relocated location with an open-ended project already and allow it to see if it has breadth within that. And if we do, if there is, then we can make decisions at that point. If we don't, then the decision's made
But didn't we kind
either
of
way.
get into the situation because we got this piece of land, what could we do with it? Not, do we need signage in a park and this is a location to put it? And so now we also have to just question whether we have a necessity for this piece at someplace else. We kind of got backwards in it, I think, a little bit.
I don't know if it was backwards or just a matter of timing. It's
Fair enough, yes.
You know, it came along. The two kind of meshed at the same time, and it seemed like a good idea.
Well, and it did because one of our strategic plan or
Right.
the corridor.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. So I mean, there was things that all kind of came together that seemed like this is what we want to do. But
And the plan does incorporate the arch, which is an existing structure within other parts of our city.
yeah.
I mean, it ties things together.
Well,
So-
and if
so
we
whether
were to
the
move
arch
it to
is in the end the whole project.
right, exactly. And
Yeah.
if we were to move it, I know, Todd, we've talked about this before, like there's already electricity in the park. There's we maybe wouldn't need the full $145,000 to complete the project if it was moved.
Yeah, correct. There's already a sign in power in the northwest corner of the park. There could be some of those infrastructure could be utilized. I guess the other potential positive from this body would be if you include it in the park and the park planning, you would actually get more public comment too, which maybe sway you one way or the other. Whether that's included later.
You wouldn't necessarily have to encase it in a fence either.
You would not. Doesn't matter to me.
I would say approach the park and put that on the Park and Recs Board discussion for next week. If there is a place for it and we kick it down the road, I hate to tell you that, Chantel, but I don't think anybody's really, I don't hear any strong feelings that we should move forward to that at this time, right at this moment.
But included in the proposal that looks at the west side improvement.
Yes.
Well, I think we're asking for them the recommendation whether we should even include it in the proposal, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, bring it to
Yeah.
them and see what, if they
Yeah.
even want
They
it
have
there.
interest in it.
That's easy enough.
Okay,
That we'll bring it to them, next week, Tuesday.
all right. Then. Okay. Let's move on. Managers report, anything from you, Sam? Anything further?
Report speaks for itself. I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for Sam? Moving on, anything from you, Todd?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Eric, anything from you today? Angie?
Yes, sir.
All right. Council to my left, anything from you? To my right? All right, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
What? Excuse me, Wagner.
Yes.
Ostra.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Hens.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
How does that